Hey, what's up everybody? So today's video is going to be a little bit different here because I'm going to show you guys the part where Quin69 went over Chris Wilsons GDC 2019's presentation, which is an amazing presentation. I truly love it, and it speaks a lot about, how to make a good action RPG isometric game, right? And I really hope Quin69 would, once take a look at that video, right? And he did it, a week or so away from the reveal of Path of Exile 4.0, which is supposedly a mega expansion to, fight Diablo 4, which is going to be pretty nice. And also we're going to see a really huge update 3.9, which is also pretty large in its size. So really great stuff coming, and just wanted this video, this section to be on YouTube in some way or form with the Twitch livestream chat. So check it out and grab something to eat or something. And Quin also monetize this video if he truly wishes to do so. But yeah, didn't want this video clip, this part, ever to get lost, because Twitch, deletes videos. Anyway, yeah, that's today's video.
Quin interviews Chris. So I get a 30-minute interview with this guy. He's literally a 5-hit. I feel like I'm gonna be out of my depth. Guys. He's like literally everything he says is so fucking 200 IQ, and you're like, true. Like let's watch this for a bit.
This talk, half of it is him. I'm just presenting it. I've been asked to make sure that everyone mutes their phones, so it's quiet. And thank you very much for staying to the last day of GDC to see this talk. Hopefully it's worthwhile.
That's true.
I'm going to talk very fast, so there's a lot to get through. It's like 90 plus slides in 45-ish minutes, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so early on in Path of Exile's history, we discovered the truth here. Player versus player games, like League of Legends, are endlessly replayable. You can play against different opponents every time, different stuff happens, and they grow over time because of that. But a PvE game like Path of Exile is difficult because it has a clearly marked set of content, a single-player story you can play through. And because of this, some players, when they play the story, they don't play the game anymore. And so it's very hard to get these PvE games to grow over time. And one could argue there aren't many good examples of PvE games that have grown. And World of Warcraft is, the type of game I'm talking about. They threw a ton of content at it for a long time, and they got some really good growth out of that. The tricky thing is, how do you do that on a shoestring budget when you're a few guys in New Zealand who haven't made a game before? So we found out the reality of this when we released Path of Exile back in 2013. You can see here we had respectable user numbers, 150 million player hours that year, and less in 2014, and less in 2015, and it just wasn't growing, right? People were treating it as a PvE game, and we were doing the best we could, and we couldn't keep the player numbers up. So we changed our strategy. We had some hard learnings to do. We changed what we were doing, and that's what I want to talk about today, how we managed to achieve the honestly ridiculous growth that we've seen since then. And there's a lot to cover. It's also worth noting that the graph here is showing only our PC Western English server. This is meant to be an apples-to-apples comparison. We're not cheating by throwing in China and Xbox to make the graphs bigger. The other realms, the other platforms are not included in this graph. So I'm going to briefly show you some footage of Path of Exile. This might be very loud, so we'll just turn it down if it is. So it's an online action RPG. I'm sure you're all familiar with this game, or at least this type of game. It plays a lot like, the Diablo series, and it's all about deep character customization, finding awesome items, leveling up. It's got a lot of replayability in the League content where you come back every 13 weeks to play more Path of Exile. And basically, it's a game that we're very proud of, entirely made in New Zealand. It's the game with that skill tree, the one that intimidates all the new users, but we're keeping in there. And so...
Do you think they're going to remove it? I think, guys, I think in 4.0, we're going to see a redesign of the skill tree. I don't think they're going to remove, when I say remove it, what I'm saying is, I feel like they're going to, what's the word here? I feel like there's a good chance we see a revision. Fake news. Well, I mean, that's a question, dude. Notes. Questions for Chris. Do you
a turtle made it to the water?
Tree.
Neilk0x22, I can't wait to play Diablo 4, or should I say a console-friendly D2 with paragons.
Anyway, that's Path of Exile. You can Google it if you want more info. So back in the mid-2000s, my co-founders and I had played a ton of Diablo 2, like thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. And as we, over time, tired of the game, we looked at other action RPGs that we wanted to try out. You know, we tried out Dungeon Siege series and Titan Quest and so on. And we played those games too and enjoyed them, but only for dozens of hours rather than thousands of hours. And so this caused us to ask, why did we sink so much more time into Diablo 2? What was perfect? What made that game the best action RPG that had ever existed? And so we came up with a bunch of design pillars that we feel a perfect action RPG needs that some of the other games hadn't quite hit in all cases. And so those design pillars are as follows. The first one is visceral action combat. This goes without saying. It's an act.
Yo, what the fuck? Is this like... Is he doing a conference on how I should give feedback? Is he telling me how I should give feedback to D4 right now? Is this like... Wait, what the fuck am I doing? I should just record this video and just put it up. I'll just put my head on his head. Dude. Holy shit, I figured it out, boys. I know how to give feedback. I know how to give feedback, guys. Look, if I just do this, I would just fucking boom, boom. Okay.
A turtle made it to the water.
Fbebrando X17, only dumbass dipshits WHO can't afford to pay a game are praising Poe. D4 will kill Poe straight on release day. Most top streamers quit Poe even. Dogshit loot boxes game.
Action RPG. You need to have immediacy. You hit a monster, it dies, blood goes everywhere, it falls back, and it's nice and fast and action-based. And you have to remember, back in 2006, the atmosphere of online games, like the climate they were in, was World of Warcraft clones. The way combat worked is you walk up to a monster and you target it, and then your character starts hitting it on a timer, and you press your cooldowns occasionally, and there's no real action. You're not dodging out of the way when it attacks, because it's going to hit you anyway. And so nowadays, of course, everyone's doing a much better job at visceral action combat. Even strict MMOs that come out have great combat in them. Games like Black Desert Online, for example, feel really good to play. So that's a pillar that everyone understands. There's no particular secret that you need action in an action RPG. Second, we have randomly generated levels. Now, this is secret sauce for sure. There were games like Titan Quest that came out where I played through it and said, this is amazing, this is the new game I'm going to play. And I started my second playthrough and didn't get a quarter of the way through it because I played it before as far as I was.
I don't know about that one, Chief. Randomly generated levels, it doesn't feel that good when you're doing jihads, that's for sure. I don't know about that one. I feel like there's definitely ways maybe you can do it if you do it right, but I think you can fuck that shit up massively. You can fuck randomly generated levels up massively. Like, if you some of the games are just like, oh, look, it's infinite. And it's just like the same random shit. It doesn't even feel like a game. It feels like you're in like some sort of scuffed, shitty simulation, right? If it feels natural, then yeah. But if it doesn't feel like organic and it just feels like literally everything's just fucking random, okay, I was
concerned. And so random levels dramatically help people replay the game. And when you want a game to be played for 10 to 20,000 hours over the life cycle of some of your longest users, it needs to have the randomness that enables them to play each individual tile set 200 or 300 or 400 hours worth of gameplay. And so I'll be talking a bunch more about random level generation later on in the talk. I understand that procedural generation got a bit of a bashing, in the last few years because some games have not used it particularly well, but used carefully with a lot of good theming, it can work really well. So next we have randomly generated.
If it doesn't feel randomly generated, then it feels good, right? That's when it feels like, oh, this is just random. Like if it's done with a proper algorithm or whatever, or like AI, or they program it however they program it. Yeah. Okay, Joe Mogan with the 4 months.
Generated items. Now, I kind of wanted to just do an items talk, just focus on this one for an hour, and I think I could do a good job of that, but I'm going to briefly say that if you get your random item system good, it makes your game replayable. And the reason why is because in these kind of games, your items are your progress, right? The character level number doesn't matter so much. No one really cares if you got to level 97 or 94. What they care about is the cool items you found out that you got on the way. And the other nice thing about randomly generated items is it's not just a linear progression where the player knows they've got 3 items left to go and then they're finished. We're dealing with ones where the stats are all over the place. Who knows what the next best item is?
I'll make sure to send a clip of your head attached to Chris Wilson's body before you have an interview with him. Enjoy, smile.
No, dude, don't. Wait, what the fuck? Dude, he needs context if you're gonna send him the clip. But fuck. Damn, that's a good point. That's a good point. I should have put that in my feedback. Dude, by the time I finish watching this video, I'm going to be like, my feedback video is terrible. Don't upload it.
Since Diablo content.
Oh, man. Fuck.
how far it can be pushed. And because of that, you get this cool diminishing returns so that players really appreciate the small upgrades they find because it's a 1% power increase for their character, but it makes them so much better than more of their friends. The next one is a secure online economy. Now, this is one of the things that sounds obvious. Clearly, games need a secure online economy. But if it's obvious, why does everyone screw it up so badly?
True.
Like, the first thing is, so many games these days just remove trade. They're like, oh, there's gold sellers. We can't deal with that. We're just going to get rid of trade. This is not the right direction. You need to have...
It feels bad if you can't trade items because it makes your items feel like they don't have value. Okay, guys? If you can't trade it, then it feels shitty. For example, if you get a sick item, but you can't even use it, or you already have one, or you don't need it, it doesn't feel like it feels like a non-item, like you didn't even loot the item in the first place. Okay, guys? That's...
trade in your game.
I hit on this point in my video, actually.
That are about items, because that way the items have some value. If you find an item and you're the only person that can ever consume that, it's not really something that you've achieved that you can actually like feel good about having. It doesn't have any weight to it. If you get a game where you get an item that you could give to your friends if you wanted to, but you're not going to because it's your item, but you could give it to them, that's something you feel good about having. And the ability for the item to actually transact with other players is a critical part in that item having worth in the economy and
He does a way better example of articulating the points that I have. He's like doing exactly what it's literally like, this is why I should just fucking send this video. This should be my default feedback video right here.
Presenting your accomplishment. The second part of this is the secure part, which again sounds obvious, but so many games these days, often from console developers who aren't used to proper secure client or server authoritative code, write their games in such a way that it's really easy to exploit them. There's dupe methods, there's various dumb stuff that goes on with the PC versions. You know, there's a lot of horror stories.
We've seen duping in PoE, just to put it out there. I have seen just duping clips on Game of Life of people like fucking disconnecting and then they log in and they have double of the same item. And I've seen that more than once. Just saying, Chris. Just saying.
Is there, but the key takeaway is that there are very few games that actually respect items to the degree that we try to. We want to make sure this is an online economy where the items are sacrosanct. They're the progress of the players. They're going to matter. We don't invalidate them too quickly with new releases of content. And there's a big rant that you can tell I feel passionate.
Hell yeah, brother. Flying Monkey with the 48 months, brother.
Passionately about, but needless to say, get your items right. Anyway, the final one is deep character customization. This is merely the fact that if you have thousands and thousands of ways of playing your game, then when someone comes back to play it the second, third, fifth time, they have a different way that they can play it. And in some games where they just have a few simple character classes and it's pretty straightforward, you'll play it with the first class, then you'll play it with...
He's talking about Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 and every other, like, most traditional... to be honest, that's like most ARPGs and most RPGs, right? Yeah. Fuck. He's putting it in a better way than I put it. His reasoning is better. It's like, you know, when you like have the same answer but you're working slightly different. He's got like better working than me.
The second one, then the third, and eventually you run out of new classes you haven't tried. Path of Exile tries very hard to make sure the class doesn't actually matter that much. It's more about what you're doing with it. Anyway.
You do lose flavor from doing that, though. I think there's a trade-off. The way that PoE does it, where you just kind of fucking start off at a random point on the tree or whatever, and like, you know, you can make a marauder, like spellcaster or whatever. You definitely do lose flavor. There's a mega trade-off for doing it the way PoE does it. I don't necessarily think it's the best way, but it certainly is. I mean, it's certainly better than just having literally like, oh, this is your class and you have like fucking 5 abilities or something. Like, I prefer more customization, but I think traditional RPG systems where you pick a class, I think I would err on that side. Right? I think I would err on that side. Just a lot of classes though. Just a lot of classes and a lot of customization.
Wait until he gets to the crypt part. That's a 555 head right there.
Wait, the crypt part? Oh shit.
So there's the preachy 5 design pillars, and we felt that many of those other games that were released failed in a few areas, right? They didn't have the secure servers, they didn't have the random levels, the items were bad, and so on and so on. Very fun games to play through, totally worth their money, but not something you can actually sink your 20s into. All right, so the next, the next topic is, we wanted to run this as a games as a service. This is something we knew back in 2006, though we didn't know the buzzwords for it, but it was something where we looked at Diablo 2, and they had tens of thousands of people coming back per realm for each one of their ladder resets. People were excited to jump back into that game because of the fresh economy and keep playing, even though the game was not being substantially updated during that time. There was a single expansion, a few tiny balance patches, no real additions. So we felt if we update our game every week with new items, new keystone passives, new skills, and we keep Path of Exile updated incredibly fast, how can we not grow? This was the plan. I mean, this is 12 years ago now that we're planning it. And this analysis also helped make us realize that we'd be economically viable at 10,000 average concurrent users. So that means if you sample the number of players online, and if there's 10,000 on average, we'd be totally fine. We're running a skeleton crew out of New Zealand, very few people on the team.
This
we
pose
paid...
commercial is great. Keep up the grade content, Kappa.
It's not doing a PoE commercial. We're talking about, like, feedback for D4 and seeing if we can extract some shit out of this. To be honest, I hit on a,
Lux Gaming X8. Hey Quinn, I'm looking forward to your video. However, I hope you didn't spend the whole time asking for D4 to be a poke clone like you did during the dev interview and your past few streams.
No,
it's not fair to D4 to ask for that.
No. You're gonna see it in the video. Definitely, I'm not doing that. Yes, I do reference PoE as an example a few times, but it's definitely not me asking. I also reference, D3 a fuck ton. I also reference, Last Epoch. I reference all a few games to give examples for different systems that I think superior a few times. Dude, I even specifically say in my fucking video, I don't want just I don't say it like I don't want a D4 clone. How do I say it? Fuck, I say something like, like, I want D4 to be something new, like coming up with new concepts, new ideas, something that really revolutionizes the space. Shit that we haven't thought of, right? Some new shit. I don't want, like, what everything else has, like, but then there's certain systems that I definitely don't want, and that's the ones I head on, right? Play the clip. Seriously, no, that's what I want. That's what I want. You're going to see, whenever, because Gatchi's currently editing it, there was some issues, because basically I sent him the raw footage. I showed him the raw footage of me just talking, except it was like I did the green screen unchroma keyed. He'd never fucked with green screens before, so we had to set that up. So there's just been a bit of a delay. But the video is fully recorded, and this is really bad though, because now I'm watching this, and there's better ways of saying things. Because I say a lot of the same things as what he's saying right now. I just say it in a much more retard version. Like I said in a lot more, if I just said it, basically it's a lot more retard. Like the retardation is much higher, right? He just,
for the game ourselves. We didn't have any investors or publishers and all that kind of stuff back then. And we felt 10,000 people is enough to generate from cosmetic microtransactions, enough people to generate enough money to pay for the game service, to pay for development, to pay for the costs, and then have some money left over for ourselves if the business goes well. And so that was our target. We were aiming low and we tried to hit it.
10K.
So we scaled up from a team of 3 friends in my garage to this motley crew of 18 guys. This is a terrible photo I got on Google.
Shit, dude. Where's Bex? The fuck? Shit. I'm gonna be meeting some of these dudes. I'm gonna be meeting some of these bros, like in 7 days from now.
Image search. This is the initial Path of Exile team that launched the open beta. We had like 1 person per department, basically. And we spent 6 years on it. And so when we launched, it went really well. We have 2 key stats there. There was massive internet virality. We had 70,000 peak concurrent users. This is like pre-Apex Legends kind of numbers. And 1.5 million signups. We're on top of the world, right? Like our random garage game had just suddenly like hit it big. And so we're...
He doesn't know about Fortnite. Wait, yeah, he doesn't know about Fortnite.
Very keen to see what happened with the player numbers.
Wait, when did Apex come out?
They declined. And it's not unexpected, right? Like, you release a game and everyone knows the numbers go down eventually. And so they declined from 70,000 concurrents to 10,000, which is great because we're happy with 10,000. That's where we want to be. So this is still good news. It was popular and had declined. Now, point out on the graph where the weekly patches were. Well, they were every week, all the way through there, and they made no difference. Like, we never, and to this day, have never seen a rise in player numbers due to changing a small thing about the game. It's all about the big changes.
Oh.
So we switched to doing 3 weekly updates, because 1 week patches just completely paralyze your studio. You dream about the patch cycle every day, and it's bad. Anyway, so at this point, we'd declined from 70,000 to 10,000 users. The business is still going well. We're making some money for once, and things are looking great. But we need to get our user numbers back up.
Power level. It's over 9,000!
Lamau, you do realize that GDC is the biggest developer conference in the world. 100% the Diablo developers were sitting in the audience of the talk. They'll know you are riffing off of it.
Riffing off of it? Wait, what do you mean riffing off of it? I mean, dude, I've already made my video. What do you mean riffing off of it? What is riffing? Hey, Gugu, define riffing.
This is the definition of roofing. Material for constructing a building's roof.
We've tasted the sweet fruit of 70,000 concurrent users and being at the top of the Steam charts and all that kind of stuff, and we need to get back up there. And so we figured, well, we know that economy resets are important. They were critically important in Diablo 2, so let's release some leagues. And the way leagues work in Path of Exile is that they are basically economy resets. In this case, it's the Anarchy and Onslaught League. The Anarchy one adds some rogue exiles to the game, which are some bad guys you get to find occasionally, and Onslaught made the players attack, so the monsters attack and move more quickly. We also put some challenges in there, and this logo is from the challenge t-shirt that we gave out to the top 50 people, and those t-shirts are like $1,500 on eBay now, I think. Anyway, so we gave some t-shirts out to the top players at the start, and this motivated people to perform well in these leagues. And so the result of this was a hefty 40% increase in player numbers. We released this content, 40% extra players come back, it's validated. Except when you look at it in the grand context, that's 40% of somewhere near the 10K mark, and then it declined below 10K. So we learned to ourselves, we learned that challenge leagues are important, they bring players back, people care, but we did a really terrible job at marketing these, right? A lot of people don't even remember the release we put them in, we just turn the leagues on basically with a thing on our website. And so we learned that you have to bundle these economy resets with significantly marketable content, like new characters, new acts, all that kind of stuff, because then the players enjoy.
Why is he giving away his secrets? He's giving away his secrets right now. This is like this is the secret sauce. This is the secret sauce to fucking to PoE, and he's giving away his secrets right now. And nobody's listening? What do you mean I'm listening right now? What do you mean nobody? I suppose nobody's. Yeah, you're right. I suppose there's a lot of games don't listen. You're probably right.
Journalists will want to talk about it. The good news is, since we entered open beta, we've been working on a new character and a new half of an act. And so that's what Path of Exile 1.00 was. This is the Scion character class, and that's the Act 3X, as we called it, second half of Act 3 in the background there. And this was the official 1.00 launch. And our goal was to get back up to 70,000 concurrent users and keep them. And so we launched on Steam. We dropped all this content in, and I have to note, you can't launch on Steam in 2013 when it actually worked really well for marketing. You can't do that every day, and nor can you make this amount of content every day. It took a long time. User numbers, back up to 70K just like we wanted. Holding steady, we're feeling really good. This time we know what we're doing, we've got a lot of experience, the numbers are staying up there, it's awesome. Okay, so they went down again. That's fine. The games do this, right? Like everyone's game goes down. That bump there is Christmas, by the way. I don't have a pointer, but the one on the right is the effect of Christmas, if you're interested to see what that looks like in a declining game. So we realized here that we it's the only thing that causes player numbers to ever go up, by the way, without releasing new content. Anyway, so we realized we needed more content. So we started work on our first Path of Exile expansion called Sacrifice of the Val. Sacrifice of the Val introduced new endgame bosses and introduced side areas and Val skill gems and a couple of new leagues and all the things a Path of Exile expansion needed roughly. And how did it do? Well, that's the bump on the right there. It's reasonable. We got some more users. We got some more money. Things are good. Like I have to stress, morale at the company is excellent, right? We control our own destiny. Everything's awesome. People are having a good time. It's great running this game as a service for almost every team member. It was their first released game. We're on top of the world, and we're finding that releasing expansions bumps the player numbers up. So now we have a button we can push that makes the player numbers go up. So let's push it a bunch more times. We decided to scope out the second expansion to be bigger, because the key question is, what is the cadence and size that we need to hit for these Path of Exile expansions, right? We're all scientists, we want to optimize this. So Forsaken Masters comes along. This is an expansion that augmented the game thoroughly all the way through with these master missions, and there's like customizable player housing and that kind of stuff. It was a good expansion, and it took about 5 months to make, and during which time the player numbers were pretty flat on the bottom. But the spike was bigger. So bigger expansion, bigger spike. This is looking good. We have a bigger button we can press if we want to. But this is tricky because it took longer to make. So is it even worthwhile sitting at 10,000 concurrent users for so long? So we decided that we would try an even bigger expansion while interleaving some smaller updates in. So we started work on, well, started work isn't completely correct because the ACT content guys have been working on this since we finished Act 3X, but we formalized the Path of Exile The Awakening expansion, which is Path of Exile 2.00. It adds Act 4 to the game. It adds a whole bunch of cool new stuff. There's socketable jewels that go in the passive tree. We completely rewrote our networking code. All sorts of cool stuff that players were going to love. And we didn't tell them about it yet because we're waiting until we can show them something impressive. And so this is going on in the background, and we know it's going to be a big spike, or at least that's the theory according to this. But let's try some...
Dry daddy.
stuff in the meantime. So 2 more leagues. This is Torment and Bloodlines. And we released these alongside some probably pretty misguided PvP stuff that we did in December of 2014. And they were okay. Like, the numbers jumped up again, kind of proportional to the size of the content. In this case, the Torment and Bloodlines leagues were worthy of a spike about that big. Certainly not as important as the bigger spikes from the bigger updates. So far, this is validating the thing. Release bigger content, get bigger spikes. But we're able to make them pretty easily while working on other stuff. So we're pretty happy with this. All right, next up is the 1-month league experiment, called being really desperate to get your players back and then calling.
I kind of hit on this point that he's already, like, they're sitting there optimizing. Did you think Diablo 4 or Diablo 3, they optimized it all? Do you think they were looking at this or even gave a fuck? Because does the only metric they care about is how many fucking things they sell, right? Because this is one of the points that I make in my video, which is coming out soon, TM, is that, you know, I'm scared that, like, because in Diablo 3, it's like you have a fat load of fucking content and they release a huge expansion and then you get jack shit. So, like, player retention is awful, right? They obviously sell a lot because there's a huge fucking thing, but then it's a completely different business model. Yeah, I don't... See, as a person who likes to play a game for a long time, who wants to play a game a fuck ton, the model where they release big content patches. See, I want concurrent players, right? I'm a streamer. I want people to play with. I want the game to be relevant that I'm playing, right? I don't want it to be like just a massive spike. Oh, we sold all the shit. Hell yeah, we're rich, bitch. To just like then just fall off massively, right? Because I don't care about concurrence. Surely they must care about concurrence. Surely they must care about concurrence. Obviously less so than like a game that's monetizing via MTX and stuff. But you would think that they would care about concurrence. You know, it would still be a valid metric because if no one's playing the game, then no one's buying the game because no one's advertising the game, right? Because if you have people making YouTube videos, people streaming on Twitch, people just talking with each other, then more people are going to buy the game, right? It would sell more, and then they would make more money. Right? Think about it. Concurrence is still good. And that's what I'm worried about for D4 is that they don't do this, like they don't release significant enough patches in between expansions.
Experiment 5 years later retroactively. So we decided to try some 1-month leagues to see what would happen. The idea is we just put some cool game modes on there. It doesn't take a lot of development work, and we'll see what happens. Maybe 1 month is the ideal cadence for Path of Exile releases. So there's the 2 1-month leagues at the end there. It's hard to tell where the second one is. And this is because your players quickly get inoculated to this kind of stuff. 1 month is not enough time to play Path of Exile and enjoy all the stuff, especially for the slower players. There wasn't new content. There was no marketing. A lot of people here probably don't know we did them. The second one was Dark Shrine, by the way, a fan favorite with like 10 people. I mean, you can see it, the bump there. Anyway, so this was kind of a failed experiment as far as we were concerned. It was keeping the players somewhat entertained, like the core audience was good, but you can see the graph there is trending downwards throughout 2014. This is the point where we're getting a little bit concerned. We're still over 10K, you know, we're still making money and it's profitable, but it's not looking great. Like, this is the point where we have to question, do we just make another game instead? Like, what's going on? But we had The Awakening coming out. That was Path of Exile 2.0, so that was the saving grace. We wanted to see how that performed.
Wait, what? They were considering making another game? What are you, just abandon PoE? Chris? You were considering that? The fuck, man?
We finished The Awakening and got it released, and it had a big spike, exactly as we had expected because it was a lot of content. So this is like, everything on this graph says that the more work you do, the better the results are, which is great. That's a good moral to live by. And the problem was this just wasn't sustainable for us. We had this awful situation where we'd work really hard to release some stuff. The player numbers would spike up briefly, then they're back down to the borderline unprofitable mark, and we have to make more content, and we just get to press the button really infrequently. We wanted to change the whole paradigm. So let's look at what we've learned so far. Number 1, economy resets. That's the key thing here for action
100%.
RPGs. If you start a fresh server, everyone rushes in, they take time off work, they want to get to level 100 the fastest, they find all the good items.
Like private server
economy
releases.
resets are amazing. They're an opportunity to have a fresh start and a fair playing field for players. If you've disengaged from the game, the economy restart is the perfect time to get back into it because it lets you have an equal footing with other people who are much better than you. You believe you're better than them, and everyone's happy until they're not.
That's true.
So Economy resets were great. The next note was about small content patches. They never helped us in any way actually increase player numbers. Now, don't get me wrong, releasing content is always good for the game, right? At the beginning, when we're doing 1 weekly updates and adding new items and skills, that's vitally important to have the game actually have some content for people to play, but it never moved the numbers up. And the reason why is there are 2 benefits to content. The first one is it makes your game better, and the second one is marketing. And you want marketing when you're doing this kind of thing and trying to get your graphs higher.
Shit, don't let Blizzard see that.
A turtle
Don't let
made
them
it to
say
the
like,
water.
God, dude,
Exus 1901 X36
small,
anniversary poggers.
Don't do small content, dude. I like content patches, especially small ones. I like content patches of all sizes. I like small ones. I like medium ones. I like large ones. I like fucking huge, thick ones. Okay, obviously, yeah, that's not as effective though in terms of player retention.
And so it's very important if you batch your content together, you get both the marketing and making the game better.
23.
So it's got to be above a threshold of people wanting to talk about it. When we release Path of Exile expansions now,
It
people...
makes sense if you're gonna set up a bomb to like fuck as much shit up as possible, or to like get as much people's attention as possible, right? What are you gonna do? Like set off a small bomb every now and then, like a little bomb here, a little bomb there, or are you gonna fucking save up all the explosives and set off a big fucker, right? Set off a big fucker. And then the big fucker's really going to get people's attention, right? It's the same thing with bombs. Same thing with bombs.
People will message each other excitedly to say, look at this cool stuff in Path of Exile. It goes to the top of overall Reddit. It does all that kind of good stuff. Back then, no one was calling anyone when you release a single new skill gem.
True.
And journalists were not covering it, but they are now. The next thing is balance changes during a league. If you decide you want to fix something, to make the game better, then the people who are doing that thing will be angry. And if you make something more powerful because it was too low, the people not doing that thing are angry because they missed out on choosing that character build. And so basically making any kind of mid-season tweaks is just a very negative experience for a lot of players who care about fairness. And so we learned to push these balance changes to between the leagues, because that's the point when players are choosing what character to play. They can see what's been reduced and what's been improved and choose to play based on that. The final story is one that I did not realize myself. I wish.
Do you really think you could upset the league by tweaking if Heavy Strike is really bad? Do you really think you could just... I feel like it could just buff Heavy Strike. You could just buff... I think nerfing things, yeah, don't do that. Because then if you invest everything into that one build and then it gets nerfed, okay, that's shitty. That's shitty. That's bad, right? But if you're playing a shit build and it's shit, and then you're already shit, and then they make it so it's competitive, that's not necessarily, that's like a bonus. That's a bonus. I feel like nerfs end of league, and then nerfs and balance end of league, and I feel like you could buff if you're playing a ret pellet, that's like saying, oh, we don't think we can buff rets when people are progressing on Mythic, because that makes it unfair if you buff ret during a progressive Mythic. I think nerfing during a progress, yeah, that would be bad, right? Like nerfing during progress would be bad, but I feel like buffing, during, a time where people are being competitive, as long as you don't over buff, it's absolute. I don't think it's... But then again, I guess his point is, though, if you lump a lot of changes into one thing, then people are going to be more excited about it, which is true. And then you get more Reddit posts, you get more YouTube videos, you get more just overall eyes on the fucking shit, right? Which is true. I wish I was smart enough to think of this, but this actually came from Criparian, the awesome streamer who played a lot of Path of Exile at the time. Crip?
And so Criparian
let me get back.
Play based on that. The final story is one that I did not realize myself. I wish I was smart enough to think of this, but this actually came from Criparian, the awesome streamer who played a lot of Path of Exile at the time. And so Criparian and I were chatting on Skype, as I like to say that we did, occasionally. And he said to me, you know what, Chris, I've got a lesson for you that really helped me with my streaming. He said, every day I will wake up and I'll stream at a reliable time. I'm there right at that moment. And I'm going to stream until a predictable time. And then I'm going to work on my highlights video and I'm going to post that at a predictable time. And then I'm back tomorrow doing exactly the same thing. And I'm going to try not to take days off. I'm just going to stream at these times. And the reason he explained was because that way, when someone comes home from work and they're wanting to watch Criparian, if that's the time of day that he's streaming, then they'll be able to watch him. And if they want to watch a video before they go to bed or whatever the timing is, it will be there. And the day that it's not there is the day they look on the internet and say, what will entertain me? What else is there in the world? And they'll find some other thing, maybe another streamer, maybe a TV show. And now that's the thing they're doing for entertainment. And he felt that his numbers dropped significantly if he deviated from his very rigid schedule. Now, he's a powerhouse of streaming, right? He's amazing. And he recommended that we do a similar schedule with Path of Exile because he said, look at your graph of what you've actually done in 2014. I made this graph, not him, but it was all over the place, right? We've got medium leagues at 20 weeks, big ones at 16. They arbitrarily get small and close together. No Path of Exile player is going to think anything other than, is that game dying? Like, what's going on with them getting smaller, and what's with the timing? No one can predict anything. And so he strongly suggested we have a rigid schedule, because that way
game
it's
dying.
more convenient.
That's actually what everyone would have been saying. That's actually
For him, because then he knows when to stream it. But it's also convenient for everyone else.
Every
And
game's
so
dying.
We tried this out. So this was our new schedule, the new era of leagues, as it's called. And so they're every 13 weeks. So this means exactly 4 of them fit into a year. That means that we know that they're going to be on the second weekend of the final month in each quarter, or whatever we do. And this perfectly fits having one a few weeks before Christmas, and a week before GDC, and a week before E3. It just matches everything, and it's great. So we started doing this, and we were initially doing some pipelining. We work on a small one while working on a bigger one in the background. And then in the second part of the cycle, we release the big one, and then repeat this. And that enabled us to experiment with scope and so on, because at this point, we still weren't 100% sure how large these had to be to have the correct effect. We were pretty sure 13 weeks, which is roughly 3 months, was the right amount of time. So that was the new schedule. Now, the key philosophy here is players will stop playing your game. That's unavoidable. At some stage, something's going to happen that makes them stop playing. They get a new job or whatever, they get burnt out, another game comes along. But the key thing is to give them a lot of opportunity to re-engage, and that means they have to really clearly know when they're next coming back. It is inexcusable for a player to be able to leave your game without knowing the date that they are returning to it, as far as we're concerned with this. And so that's why we want to make sure that users quit with a plan to come back. Because before we clearly signaled when the next release was, players would get horribly burnt out, and then they would just never play again. Whereas now, they can quit before they get burnt out.
That's
they can
what
say,
I
you know
do.
what, I've finished this league, I've seen
That's
this
what
stuff,
I do.
I'll just come back for the next one. And that's amazing for us, because then the
talking about
users are
me.
fresh, they get chances to play their AAA games or Fortnite or whatever they do, and it works really well. Also, we monetize very heavily towards the start of our leagues. That's where we introduce new cosmetic microtransactions and supporter packs and so
Fucking
on.
more
So it
value.
honestly doesn't matter a lot if we lose users right at the end, because they'll come back and monetize again at the beginning of the next league.
That's me.
So let's have a look at some results. So this tiny little bump at the bottom is the same size as roughly Forsaken Masters was. I've rescaled this because it's foreshadowing. Anyway, so this was Talisman, right? Talisman was a great league. It was a decent size. If we could release Talisman every 3 weeks, every 3 months, I'd be pretty happy. And so Talisman went well, and that was one of the small ones in our cycle. All right, so the next one was the Ascendancy/Parandus update. This was a bigger one because, as you saw,
Big,
we're going
small,
small,
big,
big,
small.
small, big. So far, there's no unexpected results, right? Small, big, all good. Next one is a small one again because it was Prophecy, which wasn't as big. But you'll notice it was actually a little bit bigger than Talisman. So this is how we rationalize. The numbers went down, but in a good way, right? Because they're bigger than the previous small one. And then sure enough, we released our next big one. Nothing surprising. This is Atlas of Worlds and Essence League. And at this point, we decided we hated pipelining because we're getting so much attention split between these two leagues. We wanted to see what happens if we just focus on one thing at a time and do it well. So we said, if we could make one thing, what would it be? So we made Breach, and Breach is very popular, and it was our best release ever. So then we said, what are we going to make next? What about Legacy? So we made Legacy, best release ever. And at this point, the background process of making a new act that trundles along always in Path of Exile's background had Act 5 almost ready. That's the 300 expansion, the Fall of Oriath, and that was sitting in our back pocket ready for release, so we did. And that was huge.
What the
Definitely our best
fuck?
release ever. And we were feeling really good at the stage. User numbers are big, we just launched in China.
Look at that trend, guys. Look at that trend. Look, let me just look at
A
this.
turtle made it to
Look at
the
this. Look at
water.
this. Can you guys see this trend, guys?
53,
Yes.
perfect bow remark incoming. How awesome is D4, even for first look? Hope it gets GG Endgame.
That's an upwards
Looking
trending
forward
graph.
For your YouTube
That's an
vids.
upwards trending graph. Right there. That is like I'm not good at maths or anything, but that's an upwards trending graph.
I know we've just launched on Xbox. This is just PC here, and it's already very high, dwarfing all our previous results. And so the question is, what would happen with our 13-week cycle going forward? Now we knew, and this happened, we knew that the next release would not be as tall as 300 because it was just a regular 13-week cycle. It wasn't an entire expansion that took 18 months and 80 people to put together. And so the War for the Atlas one was not as big as 300, but it was bigger than the previous expansion before that. And then Bestiary, and then Incursion, and it just keeps climbing. The 13-week cycle is working really well. Then we released Delve, which was great, and actually down a little bit, which we're not blaming on Delve because it's probably a lack of retention during Incursion or something like that. And we were a little bit
I played
disappointed
this
it was
next
down.
one.
This is the point where you're questioning, is this parabola finally hit the top? But Betrayal was really, really, really big.
I played
and
that.
So when you look at it in the context of all of the Path of Exile history, you can see that we were clearly declining. There's no argument about that for the first few years, and then really clearly climbing. And so this is the brunt of what I'm now going to talk about for the rest of the talk, is what we do to actually make these, and how we scope them out, and how we deliver them fast enough.
Yo, I just came with a 5-hit idea. Yo, if this is player retention of leagues, and they monetize heavily during leagues, that's the only time I should stream PoE. Think about it, guys. As a streamer, I should be starting here, right? I should be starting here and then ending about halfway. So I should be ending about there, about there, right? Think about the value I would get for just streaming at the beginning of a league. Fucking 5-head. Fucking 5-head, dude. I'm learning shit. Wait, do you think I should take Crip's advice into a stream schedule? Dude, is Crip like a fucking 5-head? I start at random times, man. My schedule just constantly changes. I don't have a good schedule at all. It's awful. Yo, think about the value. I mean, that's what they're doing, right? They're literally what PoE guys are doing is, you know, they're just basically heavily monetizing during this one, because all they care about is this one little part. They don't care about the fact that it's going to drop. They care about the peak, right?
You should be looking at your own viewership graphs and correlate it to
Fuck
that data. I keep watching after I quit the league.
Oh shit!
Taki06.
I mean, I already do that though, right? I already kind of just play the league till I get bored, and then I already do that naturally because I'm just a normie. Like, I'm one of these guys, dude. I'm one of the plebs on this graph that's like, fuck it, I'm gonna quit now. I don't need to follow the graph because I already follow the graph, because I'm one of the normies that just follows the graph anyway, who just quits at a certain point because I just get like I get bored of some shit.
That's what you already do when you quit a league 8 weeks in already you spare.
Yeah, or is it actually I'm a 5-head and I'm thinking about it analytically, okay? But you never thought of that, Ammo JD.
Okay. I'm going to go through the marketing page for Path of Exile Synthesis, which is our most recent release. And what I'm going to focus on specifically here is the way that we target specific groups of Path of Exile users. Because everyone likes something about the game. That's why they're playing it. And so we've identified a big set of categories of things that people enjoy. We've broken all the players into psychographics, and we're going to target each one with a specific slide. And the goal here is when they're reading through the page, they'll look at the features, they'll say, oh, this is cool, and then they'll find the thing that clicks with them. They'll find the reason they're playing, and they'll say, whoa, that's good. Okay, time to tell all my friends. So first of all, we start setting the scene, the setting and the story and new characters and so on. And there are players who really like discovering about the story in a league. This is the thing that turns them on and makes them want to play. And so we lead with that. And at this point, some players are going to say, okay, cool, this looks really nice. It's got this awesome blue portal and this dude, and you can explore memories. I'm going to go and get excited about it. The next thing we do is
Bork off the laser X12. Quinpog.
Just make a like a $20 million cinematic, Chris, and that's how you get people excited. Just make a $20 million cinematic, Chris. Yo, thank you, Bulk, with the 1 year. Welcome back.
So we talk about a unique gameplay mechanic in combat that we've introduced. In this case, it's the ability to explore these decaying memories and run away from this wall of decay. And this is something that for many players, that changes completely how Path of Exile plays, because now they're running away from the decay wall. They've got to use movement skills differently.
This is a really bad league, by the way. And this is the thing which causes them to become excited, because that group of players loves the idea of combat being slightly different. The next group of players don't necessarily care about the story. They don't necessarily care about combat. They care about long-term meta progression within the league. The concept of building something up over time. And so we often implement kind of meta mechanics in Path of Exile, which are like games unto themselves. And this really appeals to types of players who want a meta layer on top of the regular gameplay. Yeah.
And so, for example, in Synthesis, you can get these kind of puzzle pieces that you connect together a bit like Carcassonne and explore the memory map with that. And this is entirely a meta mechanic. It doesn't have any impact on the actual like moment-to-moment gameplay of the game. This just dictates how you access the advanced content in the league. And that really appeals to groups of players who want to make sure they're doing a different meta thing with each.
To be fair, I would have enjoyed the system if it wasn't completely bugged out and completely fucked and cooked. Right, riddled with like a gajillion bugs, right? That would be me, but it's not me in this case because this mechanic was just trash because of all the bugs and shit.
League. Next, we have what I call endgame aspirational content. So these are like final boss fights. They're really hard to get to. You've got to do a lot of meta progression to get there. They're very difficult encounters. They've got good rewards. You have to learn the strategy of the fight. They're big multi-stage ones, and they take a lot of development time to make. And they're only accessed by maybe 10% of our players. The top.
That's the best shit. That's the best shit. Let's be honest here. This is the best shit. It's the end game. I think the meta progression and then the unaccessible like hardcore end game systems, like where you fight a badass boss and it feels super rewarding to beat it. Right? Let's be honest here. That's the best shit, dude. I don't have any of the stuff in my video, guys. My feedback video is trash. But then again, how can you give feedback? Because I'm not necessarily. Am I worried about this not being a
Are they
D4?
force feeding me like a goose? Are you trying to tell me I am the goose being fattened?
Yeah. Yeah, what am I saying? Remake it easy. I'm not gonna remake it, guys. Gashy's fucking still eating that bitch. Let me see if there's any, Yeah, I don't know what, it's still, dude, it's at the end of the day, this is making me feel really bad about my own video. And yeah, there's definitely better ways of articulating my points that I have. But at the end of the day, the answer is still the same. Like, I don't need to really explain why I don't like something, right? I can be like, I don't like this. I'm giving you feedback. This thing's shitty. This thing's good. That's all you need to tell them. And they're like, okay, well, yeah, that's it. You don't like that. You know? That, at the end of the day, that's feedback. Just add it to your video. I'm not going to just add this to my video, dude. What the fuck? That'd be ridiculous. That's the worst way to get feedback. No, but I also provide examples of things that I do like, okay? Like, I do plan, guys, when you see the first video, you haven't even seen the first video, but you don't even know if you need me to make a second. Maybe the first video is perfect, and I don't need a second video. But no, actually, I am planning on doing a second video, but it's one of those things where I really should do some more investigating like I am doing right now.
Top players who can get through to the end of the game get a chance to see this content. And you may ask yourself, why are you guys spending like 20% of your development effort on something that affects 10% of players? And the reason why is there are groups of players in there who want to know that there is content that only they can get to, stuff that's actually hard, and they're an exclusive club for being able to do it. And so those players will work incredibly hard to identify the content, work out how to get there, rush there as quickly as possible, build characters custom made for it, do time runs, try to do it in hardcore, try to do it without getting hit, all of these things, and then repeat it over and over to get all the good items. And so we found that it's incredibly useful to have this endgame content, even if not everyone gets a chance to experience it themselves, because there's a good, strong overlap between streamers and these top 10% of players, because streamers are generally the better players in the game.
True. Not false.
And so they can consume this content.
Let me just go back again.
We found that it's incredibly useful to have this endgame content, even if not everyone gets a chance to experience it themselves, because there's a good, strong overlap between streamers and these top 10% of players, because streamers are generally the better players in the game, and so they can consume this content on stream, and everyone else can watch and think, oh, I wish I was that good. I wish I could get characters that strong and be able to play the top Path of Exile content.
That's you guys! That's you guys! Dude, Chris is a god. He knows everything. Holy shit. Chris knows, dude. He knows. Holy fuck.
So we try to appeal to that group there, which has a lot of overlap with the rest of the player base from an aspirational point of view. Next, we talk about league rewards. Everyone loves finding items. That's why they're playing these games. And so we introduce new rewards that synergize with existing systems in the game. And this is for players who want to improve their characters and find out how they're going to be subtly different in terms of what items they're getting. In this case, it's the fractured and synthesized items. We talk about crafting. There are Path of Exile players who love crafting. There are ones who will be really bored looking at all the other stuff until we talk about crafting, and then the world opens up with possibilities of what kind of stuff they can make using the new systems. And this is also important from a gameplay point of view, as any Path of Exile.
Don't worry, he's not talking about you. You take handouts from us.
Okay, dude.
It's okay.
So here, if you can get a head start on the crafting in the league and make the best stuff before other players, you're kind of the source of the best items, and the exalts come rolling in. And so this is actually one of the power gamer strategies here, is to care about the crafting for Path of Exile. We like to do meta balance changes. So for example, we did a spellcasting rebalance and synthesis. And one of the reasons we do this is because there are players who will play the best character build, and only the best character build. And if
that's you guys, Twitch chat, that's you guys. Wait, what was he saying? So did you hear what he said about crafting? I also touched on the crafting elements of that. He really didn't go much into crafting, did he? What is this conference about? Designing Path of Exile to be played forever. Really? Crafting was that small of a thing for him? was like, yeah, we like crafting to be a thing in the end game. That's it. Cripply, by the way, that's you guys, though. That's you guys.
If that's the same for 2 leagues in a row, they're playing the same character for 2 leagues in a row, which might be fine, but it probably is boring to play the same character for 2 leagues in a row. And so it's really important that we mix things up. I mean, hopefully not completely arbitrarily. We're trying to solve problems here. We're trying to take the things that are overpowered and make them a bit worse, and take the things that haven't been used for a while and make them really exciting. But this is very important because it means that people will get a chance to see different aspects of Path of Exile from league to league. Now, an important thing here is it doesn't require developing new content. We're literally just rebalancing and so on. And that means we get to leverage all of Path of Exile's hundreds of existing skills and systems when creating, and kind of make pseudo content by bumping it up to be top tier.
D4 devs.
76x5.
Thank you, Wub. The D4 devs have already said they intentionally plan on doing this exact thing. So this whole like spellcasting rebalance, well, spell balancing and like buffing and nerfing things, they said they're going to make sure the meta is not the same every season, which I think is definitely a good thing, right? And you don't want to just like deliberately fuck balance up. If everything was kind of balanced or close, that's a good. That's a good thing. You want to leave it like that. But if there's something that's clearly overpowered and everyone's forced into doing that particular gameplay style, definitely bringing that shit back into line, right? Definitely. Sucking Blizzard dick. I'm not sucking Blizzard's dick. we're talking about D4 here, guys. Believe it or not, this is a D4 stream. We're doing a D4 stream here. And the D4 devs have said they already intentionally plan on doing exactly what Chris is talking about right here.
Yeah. Having said that, it's very important that we actually do introduce new skills in order to appeal to players who are keen to play a new powerful character and want to make sure they're doing something snazzy that hasn't been released before. And so we shine a spotlight on various new skills and archetypes of players so that players who enjoy playing what's new and hot get a chance to clearly see what it is on the marketing page. Finally, I know I've talked about items.
Do you know what? Do you think they're going to run out of abilities to make? Just genuine question. Do you think like there's like in a isometric ARPG, right? How many fucking things can you really make? Like if you can do like a cleave, you can do like a lacerate, you can do like a single target hit. You can do a single target hit which has a stun built into it. You can have a a single target hit which has a bleed tied to it. Really. Infinite? How many things can you really do? You can do a whirlwind. You can do a single press whirlwind instead of a channel whirlwind. You can do a big AoE whirlwind. You can do a AoE stun. You can do an AoE bleed. I'm trying to think, like, how many things can you really make? With your brain, no lot. What I'm saying is, like, really, like, because you can rename abilities and call them, like, different things, but, like, a lot of them are really similar. You should work at Blizzard. What? Just keep recycling skills? What I'm saying is, like, there's going to be limited shit. Like, in terms of, like, innovative ideas when it comes to abilities in games like this, what's the most, like, crazy skill we've seen? Really? What's the most crazy skill we've seen? Like, recently? Your IQ is limited. No, I'm saying, like, you got, like, AoE Frost, AoE Fire, AoE Lightning, you got Chain Lightning, you got Single Target Lightning, you've got, like, you think about all the different skills you have. Really? What are some of the most recent abilities they've made? They made a AoE Dot, which was, like, already pretty much done, right? Except it was just really large AoE, which also cursed things. They made, like a Heat-Seeking Dot, which would just dot as it flew through things. Brands. They had, what was that? Little Zappy Boy. It was just a laser beam which you channel up. Divine Eye, yeah. Cobra Lash.
That's a dumb question. Here is how many 77 duodecillion 777 undecillion 770.
Okay, GG Enix. Dude, okay, dude.
Rewards, but the items we're talking about here are subtly different, and you can tell this game's got a lot of items in it. And this is referring to the items that regular monsters in the game can drop. Just the idea of playing normal Path of Exile content, and many people wanting to know that regular monsters drop more interesting stuff than before. There's new divination cards, there's new unique items, there's new mods available. This is really important, because for some people, they kind of ignore the league. We put a bunch of effort in, they just want to play Path of Exile, and they kind of ignore it. And it's fine, we just have to make sure that those people understand there is more regular Path of Exile for you as well.
To be honest, economy reset, I feel like is the biggest driving thing, right? Like it's the reset that's the biggest thing, and then the bonus content on top is nice.
Now, there's plenty more sections in our marketing materials, obviously. We try to sell them some stuff as well, but that's completely irrelevant for this talk. Here's the checklist of all the things that for Path of Exile we find are important to push to the players. And so that's basically the scope of what one of these updates is. Now, if you've been involved in game production, you may ask, that's an awful lot of work to do in 13 weeks. How do we do that? And so the remainder of the talk, which we have about 20 minutes, the remainder of the talk is about how we achieve this in a 13-week cycle. So I'm going to give you a bunch of advice. Some of it is going to be a bit weird.
Don't help
but bear with me. Okay, so let's start with the easy stuff. Fast prototyping. Obviously, you should do fast prototyping, right? Why do I even have the slide? Because it's actually really hard and we fail at it all the time. Like the fast prototype for synthesis came in really late. I was initially going to say how late, but that's really embarrassing. So let's just say it was late. And that reduced the amount of iteration we could do. And potentially that affected the quality of the league. We're having to do a lot.
Quality of league, probably the lowest quality league I think I've ever played. If to be honest with you, I feel like the quality of synthesis, it was riddled with bugs. Riddled with bugs.
A catch-up work at the moment, changing some mechanics based on the fact that our prototype was not ready early enough.
The prototype was the release.
Thankfully, the fast prototype for 3.7.0 has already been completed and thrown away once and completed again, and that's a really good process. And so, try to do this right. It's the easy part. Now to get on to some harder stuff. Okay, procedural level generation. This is a multi-hour talk that I'm condensing down to a few minutes. Okay, procedural level generation is critical because your leagues, or whatever is appropriate for your game, need new content for players to actually play through. And that means making new areas, because you've got to go to new places. But the traditional way of making levels and games can be slow and involves placing a bunch of things around and involving artists and taking time. Let's try to make a level in 60 seconds. So I load up the tool and I draw a line across horizontally, which is a river, and then I draw a path going downwards, which is the white path there, and then I put forest around it. And I press the button to say go, and it makes a Path of Exile level out of tiles. And there's a river and a path intersecting, and the engine knows it can put a bridge there and all this fancy stuff, and I click go again and I get a completely different one, and go again and I get a different. So by default here, it's producing random levels. Now, these are relatively similar because it's just a relatively simple one, but I'll make it more complicated. So I can then play this in game, and sure enough, there's a pretty bridge over the river, and it works out the direction of the water flow and does all the fancy foam generation. All this cool stuff just happens because we've got mature tools for that now. And so I say, okay, so this is a forest. I need some stuff to fill it with. So I make a set of tiles that can go in there, some trees and some fallen over trees and bandit camps and tents and some rocks, and it puts them throughout the level. And then I generate again and get a different set of stuff, and again and get a different one. And the player's story is subtly different each time.
How many times can you do it?
The crossing is in a different place, the bandit camp is in a different place, if it's even there at all. And you have to bear in mind that this was like literally just a cross in the editor, like the simplest possible graph that took seconds to do. So here's a real level from Path of Exile. This is the river crossings that's to the left of Act 2 town. And the way that this all works is instead of doing levels like this, where you just make one and hope it's random enough, you make like 20 different variations. You have 2 rivers, you have 5 rivers, you have no rivers. You have it so that there's multiple roads or a fork in the road. You have all of these crazy things. And then when the game is generating the level, it picks which topology to use first, and then it does the random generation within it. And so you've got 2 levels of randomness there. And so this is an
stop. There's something you can learn how to hack with this, right? You can, if you understand how the fucking game editor works, and then how it translates into a map, you can then understand exactly how every level is going to be. So, what, like, you understand what I'm saying?
Shut the fuck up, Quinn. I'm trying to masturbate to Chris777777.
It's not random. If you understand how the formula works, right? If you understand how the fucking formula works, you can technically go into it like, oh no, this map here is like, this is a a blue line with a fucking arrow through it, and this is, and you can just go through tile sets a few times until you realize, oh, it's always going to work out like this, and this is always going to be where the exit's going to be, or like, you get what I'm saying, right? Twitch chat, it's probably going over your head. You probably don't understand. This is some
example topology from the river crossings, and here's some examples of what it can make. So there are many ways across the rivers. There's paths, there's broken paths, there's little stones, there are fallen logs, and so on. You've got various boss encounters in here. You've got different exits going off into different levels, waterfalls, that kind of stuff. Here's a completely different variation of it that's generated. In this case, there's like a different user story as they play through and get different bosses and so on. This one here has like an island in the middle with a big, like, thick copse of trees there. And so this area feels different every time you play and did not take the artist very long to do. For Synthesis, we said, oh, we need like 50 or 60 of these areas made that the players can play through, and we kind of need them right now, like today preferably, because we have to actually like use them to put the monsters in and playtest. And so they took minutes to make each one. I think it was like 20 minutes, but the point is they did it pretty fast. And that's something we can do because of a procedural level generation tool suite that we've made. And I should note, all of Path of Exile's tools and engines are entirely custom. Not something I necessarily recommend, but it's great when you've got it. Okay, so I'm now going to show you why the level generation is good in another way. It understands about your league mechanics. So this is Abyss. This is where when you're playing through the area, there's a crack that you can follow and monsters come out of it. And so when we're generating the level, the generator can place the Abyss cracks throughout the level in an interesting way, aware of the context of where players can go. So that's an outdoors one. This is an indoors one. It will follow the paths and go through the doorways and along the little narrow walkways and all that kind of stuff, because it understands about the walkability, because it just generated this maze for you. And so because of this, Abyss is a fun mechanic. It's different every time you play it because of the level that it's present in. It's a completely different story. And this kind of leads on to the next topic. And this is a topic about multiple overlapping axes of randomness. Now to give an example...
I don't know if Abyss is a story, Chris. I don't know if an Abyss is I get it is. It's like a little micro story. But okay, interesting.
Example, imagine you're a Path of Exile designer, your job is to make encounters, like fights. So you're sitting at your desk, and I come over and say, we need lots of these. We have an encounter that needs a ton of variety because we expect the players to play it like 500 times. And you say, wait, wow, I can't make 500 variations of this. So you try, and you have 10 encounter types to start with. You've got the one where the monsters drop down from the ceiling, you've got the one where they crawl up the walls, you've got the one where they teleport in, you've got the one where they're in a big sphere that breaks open. You do as many encounters as you can do, and you hit about 10. And then I say, look, 10 isn't enough. I said 500 retries of this. So you make another 10, and now they're getting diminishing returns, and it's really hard to think of them. So that's the point where we add another axis. In this case, it's like, okay, well, all of that was with spiders. Let's make zombie versions. So you make it so it can spawn zombies, and then bats, and so on and so on. So that's another axis. And then we're like, okay, random bosses. Randomly, some of these are going to be bosses. So sure enough, the fight's no different because you get lucky or unlucky with how many bosses there are. Then we're going to add some random mods to the fight, and so on and so on. So each axis increases it, and it gets to the point where you've done 5 times the work, but got 10,000 times the amount of randomness out, versus just making 50 encounters, and then it gets boring once they've played all 50, which is the Prophecy League. Okay. So I'm going to show you a video of Breach, which is an example of a league with lots of these axes. So you tag this spooky hand, and it opens up a breach, which is kind of like a parallel dimension where you fight these monsters, and if you kill them fast enough, the radius keeps increasing, and it gets harder and harder to keep it open until it collapses. Now, there are good and bad things that can occur. This is a great breach because it's outdoors, and so you got a big circle, you can kill a lot of monsters. This is an indoors one where you got super unlucky and it's up against the side of the level. And that's a bad breach because now it's harder to fight all the monsters. And that's okay because I'll look forward to the next good one. But there's way more axes. The monster density can vary. You can get these like special chests that spawn very rarely within it. So you're lucky, like there's some chests up here that are like clasp hands that you can tag. There are different varieties of flavor of breach. You want to get the chaos ones rather than the fire ones potentially because they've got better meta progression associated. You can find Breach Lord bosses that maybe you do or don't want to spawn depending on how hard they are. And so there's so many things that can happen inside a Breach. You're always left feeling that the next one is going to be better because you've never seen a perfect one on all axes.
So he's saying you need RNG on RNG to make things interesting. You need everything needs to be like to change up the encounters so it's not the same encounter every time, right? Depending on where you're at. It makes sense. It makes sense.
All right. So let's talk about asset reuse. This is another obvious thing. If you're making a game like this as a games as a service model where you want to make content really quickly, then it's important to reuse your assets where you can. It would be criminal to make entirely new assets. The artists would be really, really, really put to a lot of work. So let's have a look at how we've done that in Path of Exile. These are the same area. On the right, we have like Calm's lava cave, and on the left, we have a plateau area. Now, what we did is we removed the lava and changed the environment lighting so it looks different, but the tiles are the same. I think many of the textures are the same as well. That was really fast to do. Now, this is why you shouldn't add a day-night cycle to your game like this. So many people make action RPGs, and it's easy to add a day-night cycle. So they do, because look at how awesome it is in the trailer to show off the day-night cycle. But that means you're throwing away the ability to like hide versions of areas that use a different environment elsewhere in the game. As long as they're far enough away and look sufficiently different.
Wait, didn't they do that in D4? Yo! Shit, but they can just hire more artists, because they've got millions of dollars, idiots. They can just hire more artists because they got millions of dollars and millions of trillions of dollars. Okay, bitch?
then people will not necessarily feel when they're playing through. I mean, the players don't care in principle that
They
you've
can
reused
just get
content,
more
they expect it, but they care when they can notice it. And so if you have a day-night cycle for each of your areas, you've thrown away so many permutations you could use to add actual meaningful extra content elsewhere in the game. Here's another area where we took the icy glacier area, no, I think this is the ascent area, and we made it yellow and took the snow away, and now we've got a desert. And so we do this extensively throughout the game. I think like Acts 6 through 10 show a lot of examples of both this and actual new assets mixed together in a way that's very hard to tell, but was actually very, very cost-effective at making content. Here's another example with monsters.
I noticed this.
So on the left here, you can see a green flying monster, you can see a spiker and a bone wheel skeleton. And at the top, you can see a random portal frame made of metal. Now, we had a sudden and urgent need for a pile of synthesis monsters that looked cool. So we said, that metal stuff looks cool, let's take that, and let's put it on the rigs of the monsters on the left. And so sure enough, we immediately have instantly animated and rigged monsters we can use. And all we have to do is give them new names, give them new sounds, give them new effects, and give them new skills so they have a meaningful different combat interaction with the player. And then suddenly we had our synthesis monsters sorted out. To make monsters on the left involves spooling up a asset creation pipeline that involves concepting and high poly models and low poly models and texturing and all that UV stuff.
I don't know about this one. This like you can tell when it's a clear reskin and they have to do different shit. If they don't do different shit, then it's effectively just the same thing but reskin, right? So he needs to do different shit in terms of gameplay mechanics.
And I don't know any of this animation, rigging, the whole works, getting effects. It takes months to make monsters. But if you do this like cheap approach here, you can make stuff that looks different than what you have in the game at the moment relatively quickly. And we often have to make monsters with days of notice when we're putting these leagues together. So techniques like this really help. And the best thing is these synthesis monsters don't feel like reskins. They've got their own new skills and stuff. It isn't just a blue version of the flying thing. It's like a cool metal version of the flying thing. Okay, so now we're going to talk about content reuse, which is different than asset reuse, because I'm talking about taking like a wholesale block of content and reusing it. So this is Breach, which I just showed you, and in the regular game you'd find these hands and fight the monsters, and players understood it and they liked it. And then we turned the Breach League off and had them relatively scarce within the game, but it was available as a reward for later elsewhere. So when we did Incursion, sure enough, the Vaal have been researching breaches in the Temple of Atsuatl, and so you find breaches in there. And when the player sees that purple hand, they immediately notice. They know exactly what it means in terms of the fact they're about to get a big fight and lots of monsters, lots of experience, lots of items. They understand the rewards. They understand that if you find splinters inside the breach, it lets you create breach stones, which lets you go and fight some endgame meta stuff, entirely by seeing a purple hand there. This is a breach inside the Delve content, so deep underground.
This is big. To be honest, this shit where they reuse in-game systems, in-game mechanics, and they keep them relevant, like at least the good ones relevant, and like basically they use you as a fucking beta tester, and then if it's like a good one, then they're like, fuck yeah, keep it in the game. Oh, this is actually shit, take it out. Whereas in like WoW, for example, they come up with like, you start off the expansion, it's completely fresh, they add in all these systems and they tune all these systems and they finally get them to a point where it's really good, and then they're like, fuck it, scrap it, and they start again. This shit where they just reuse in-game, like, mechanics and like keep in stuff that's good instead of constantly scrapping it, it's 5-hit, man. It's fucking 5-hit. Now what can result in, I feel like, is some bloat, but I believe they've been optimizing it so it feels less bloated. But as a player who's been playing for a long period of time, I love this shit where you've got like a bunch of league mechanics that are still relevant, like, and it really does increase the amount of variation in terms of like gameplay at the end game, right? It's a good system, man. How many of you guys though think it's too bloated? Does anyone think PoE's too bloated? Like the PoE in-game bloat? Do you guys think there's too many mechanics? No. Most people. There's a few people saying yes. There is a few people saying yes. Not anymore. There you go. Yeah, there you go. It's a clusterfuck. It's missing. Shit.
You really feel the bloat when you are new.
Yeah, I think definitely. I like coming back to PoE after playing it like one time. I was like, what the fuck is all this new shit? And I was like question marks everywhere. I didn't understand anything. I think it's when I came back to Delve and I hadn't played in a long time. But because I've been playing every major leagues ever since, bar the new league. It's not felt like that at all. So I guess that's maybe as a new player, you're going to get like triggered as fuck.
There's purple hands, and we just chuck it in there, and it's really like, it's entirely positive for players. They had a whole system that they really enjoy engaging with. Here we have some Harbinger fight in the regular game when that was a main league, and sure enough, you get the same fight deep underground in Delve, where there's a Harbinger portal that the monsters come out of, and it means you get access to all of the rewards for that league. This gentleman here is called Kadiro. He gives you bro deals for...
Kadiro? Kadiro. My life has been a lie. I thought it was cardio. Kadiro.
awesome items. He's like a traveling salesman.
I hate this
and
guy.
we used him in the Parandus League, and then very little since then.
I hate
But
this
when
guy.
we're designing Betrayal's rewards, of course, one of the 200 or 300 outcomes has to be Kadiro's in a cage, and he's very happy to do a deal with you. And this is cute because, of course, like why is he in a cage in this area? But it was something the players really liked, because now when they want access to the Kadiro content, they know they can go and find him in this outcome, and all of that stuff is available. So we found that wholesale content reuse has been incredibly useful at both bolstering the rewards in the game, but also making sure that players immediately say, oh, I know this, it's going to be great. Okay, so now's the time for us to talk about some more controversial lessons. This is the point where I get labeled crazy. All right, so this is the quality curve. This is relatively obvious. You have your work versus quality thing, and this has an asymptote. That means that you can never get to 100% quality. It's going to take infinitely long in terms of work because people want more and more and more fixes, but you can get pretty close. The question is how far along the curve.
About 80%. Yeah, I'd say about 80% would probably be a good bet. Maybe 80, maybe 90. What did you? About 80, 85%, 90%. 90%.
Curve do you go? And when you're left with 13 weeks, you can't apply the when it's done philosophy, and you have to pick somewhere. So for example here, for 50% of the effort, you get 90% of the quality. Now I'm not saying to release games that are only 90% quality, but the way you do it is by putting the quality in the right places. Polish the things that matter,
Hey,
and don't...
man, why are there people saying the video is shit when it's not even released? Oh, no. I'm losing control.
Yeah, people. Yeah, guys, you can't judge my feedback video before it's released, dude. Yo, Getty, I'm ready, dude. Just whenever, just hit us with the video. Is it like Getty's the only person who's seen the video? Real talk, is it trash? Real talk, is it? Do you think it's trash, Getty? Trash video? You didn't even play D4? Oh my god! Like, he's the only one who's seen the video. To be honest, I had to send him the edited, unclipped, footage of me literally sitting there going just like, what's going on, boys? Quin69 here. How you guys doing today? What the fuck? What's going on, guys? Quin69. How you guys doing? And basically just a lot of that. And he's had to go through literally an hour plus of me just guys, when it comes to recording videos, I have to try a few times.
Imagine giving feedback on Diablo 4 when you've never even played Diablo 2.
Oh my god.
Why don't you give some feedback on the space station while you're at it? 2 Omega lol Kekweni truers. Lol.
Don't care about the stuff that doesn't matter.
Catchy masturbated.
Now, this means that you have to make some very difficult decisions about what things to pay attention to, and therefore the best skill for a developer to have on your team is the ability to know what actually matters. Relatively few people on the Path of Exile team are able to actually gauge that as accurately as we would like. And so it's very important that we do focus everyone's efforts on the things that really, really pay benefits for the actual content we're releasing. And this is also why we hire our player base to be in the QA team and dev team, because Path of Exile player...
Think about that, guys. Think about that. That's big. He's basically saying people have to play the game and understand what the game's about in order to know what's good, right? Like, if you don't fucking care about the game or don't play the game, you don't do the shit, then how are you going to know what people want, right? How do you know what makes a game good? Which is a big true. And I feel like a lot of companies, especially, if you look at Diablo 3, you could tell a few of the developers, a lot of developers just they were on another level of playing the game, right? They weren't playing the game. They were like, I don't know what the fuck. So yeah, I feel like players that play their own game that they make, that's pretty big.
Just like you and Diablo 2.
Okay, bro.
Players will understand what's important because they've played through it a whole bunch and know how they interact with it. All right, pipelining. We tried it. We really did. We wanted to have two or three releases on the go at once, and it just really failed. And we found several problems with this. The first one was that when we're focusing on too many releases at once, we always had an excuse to go and look at the other one when things got hard. If you assign a developer, do all this stuff for release A, and then maybe do the stuff for release B later, they'll work on A like they're meant
So
to
now let's talk
until
about,
they get stuck.
Delete the delete this. Don't leak. Don't leak the fucking footage. I sent him the I sent him the unedited footage. Yeah, dude. I swear to God. Yo, looking for a new editor. He's out of control.
And instead of then solving the hard problem, they would often say, oh, well, there's some easy stuff I can do on B, so I'll just work on that for a few hours instead to clear my mind. And that's great, but then A is completely stalled. And when you have precious few weeks in order to get this stuff done, you really can't handle those stalls. The second thing is, if you pipeline releases, you do not have time to react to what the game actually needs.
True.
By the time it's apparent that the game needs a new endgame, you're like 3/4 of the way through making a new beginning to it or something like that. Because Reddit will suddenly decide there is a thing that needs fixing. And if you have the ability to say, yes, sir, and get that done in 13 weeks, that's not even good enough some of the time for them.
True. Not
but
good
having
enough.
to spend like, oh, wait, we've got the next 2 expansions almost finished, kind of. We'll do this one next year. It's just not going to work. The game is on fire until that thing is fixed.
It's like Melee. Okay? Do you know how many months I had to bitch for? Do you understand how long I had to cry that Melee was fucking... That's literally Melee. Do you know how long I would have to moan? And then even then, they fucking had pipelined some range buffs and shit, and then they ended up buffing range before we got our Melee buffs. I'm just saying. It's pipelining bad. Fuck pipelining. Fuck pipelining. Unless it's a new game entirely. Maybe pipelining a new game like Diablo 4 where you're still working on stuff for Diablo 3, for example. Yeah. Two-header. Okay, what is this? Stop.
It's also important not to stall content for later. We get into a situation where we're like, we finished all the skills we said we were going to make, and we've got 2 extra ones that got out of prototyping, and they're kind of finished. Do we wait? Do we leave them for the next expansion so we have less to do? No, put them in the game now. The game needs to be in its best form now, all the time, because you don't get second chances.
Yep.
As much growth as possible every league, otherwise you'll start to decline.
Yep.
People express concern about creativity here. They say, look, Chris, you've got this plan for like another 10 years of Path of Exile with 4 releases per year. That's 40 more leagues. I can think of 2 good ones. Where are we going to get 40 from?
True.
And I always refer them back to Magic the Gathering. They have released new sets, 4 per year or whatever, for so many decades now, like 26 years in or something, hundreds of these things, and there's always new ideas. It's amazing the fact they can go back to the well and find really cool, compelling stuff. And so whenever I hear that we're not going to come up with another 10 or 20 or 30 of these, I go, they did 100, and I'm certain we'll be able to.
Wait, what? Did they really make new cards? Like, what could they possibly be making? Like, just like a fucking... It's like, no, you're gonna make more Pokemon. I don't care if it's fucking... it's an inverted anus. I don't care if it's you make him. Prolapsosaur. Okay? Fucking come up with new ideas. You little cunts. And they just keep, like... Just coming up with most random shit. And they're just literally just I don't know, man. I feel like that's almost like saying. Then again, you want to play a game forever, don't you? You do want to play a game forever, but at the same time, it's kind of like when there's a really good TV show, and they just keep on milking it and keep on milking it.
S_N_I_P_U_.
There needs to be quality assurance to make sure they're not just pumping out trash, right? Game of Thrones. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's
the well will refill. Now, if you're a project manager, you're probably asking how we can make all of this stuff in 13 weeks, because it's not just we start work and then 13 weeks later we release it. Consider how the schedule actually works in reality. So we release the content, and now there's problems with it, right? Right now, there's a bit of a fire where we're fixing some stuff with synthesis that the community didn't like. That's cool. We'll have that fixed early next week. But this has taken the first 2 weeks of the schedule to do so. So there's some time spent doing live ops work on the existing release you've done. Then you've got to prototype the new stuff, right? Ideally, that's a bit pipelined in there, but still, it takes time. It's going to be another week before we really know for sure what 3.7.0 is.
Wait, what? Don't stall content for later. Wait, isn't that what I'm doing right now? And I'm stalling for content right now? Isn't that what I'm doing? Like, wait, is Chris trying to send a message to me right now? What the fuck?
So that's 3 weeks gone. 10 weeks left. And coming from the other end, we like to announce our content 3 weeks before the end. We put our
I'm
page...
literally stalling until Diablo 4 comes out, boys. Yo, let's do a deep 4 tomorrow, guys. Diablo 4 deep dive part 4. We just got 2.5 more years to go, guys.
We get the players hyped. They have time to tell their friends. There's a countdown. You know, it makes sense for people to book time off work. So that's 3 weeks gone there. We then have to actually do a press tour where we show all the journalist stuff. It's very important to actually do real marketing and PR.
Those guys.
So we spend 2 weeks showing all the people stuff and preparing the marketing page. But in order to do this, we have to actually have content ready to show them, like a trailer and slides and this kind of stuff. And that takes a week. So now we've got this like 4 or 5 week window in the middle to actually make all of the stuff.
I met the journalists, man. Those guys were cunts. I met the journalists. They were, okay, not all of them. I would say about 50% of them were cunts. They didn't even care. They're acting like they were triggered to be at BlizzCon. They were like just being negative as fuck the whole time. One of them was triggered because I was like, yo, IGN does fake news. And like, yeah, she got really fucking triggered. And she had like fucking purple hair. And then I didn't even want to. Yeah. Anyway, the journalists were cunts. The streamers were cool. Fuck journalists, man. Fuck journalists that aren't like. Yeah, obviously you don't need to be like overly. You don't need to have like rose-tinted glasses on and just be fucking overly positive 24/7. But like these guys were like, dude, they like hated being there. They hated being at BlizzCon, and they were not having a good time. And they were like, dude, they were announcing games and shit. And these kids were like on their phones just like...
Fourth Gex 3.
It's fucking... fuck it, dude. Zero passion. Zero passion. Dude, fuck journalists.
And that's difficult. And that's where the next...
You going to play the new Diablo 2 League? 2?
When's that happening? I don't know. Maybe... I'm just saying they need to get passionate journalists. You need to get passionate journalists. I mean, you want biased journalists, but you want journalists who enjoy what they do, not like just these fucking, I don't know what you want to call these.
So you're saying that the fake mainstream media is your enemy and that they are very unfair about your totally cool, perfect stream with the Diablo 4 dev where you didn't ask him to investigate Path of Exile?
What do you mean? Investigating other games isn't, that's a part of the creative process, man. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's like saying, yo, I want you to make the best movie ever, right? I want to make you just make the fucking best movie ever. But you're not allowed to look at any of the other movies. No, Quentin Tarantino, well, fuck, no, get out of there. You can't look at any of these fucking good movies. No, you can't look at those. You're going to make the best movie ever, except you're not allowed to look at anything else. No, fuck that. You should be like... sucking it up like the D4 devs in their like not in their free time. I think even in their paid time. I think the D4 devs even in their paid time should be paid to like go out there and like just fucking game up, man. They should game up and they should test these systems out and be like, oh, this is really fun and like whatever the fuck, this is good. Like, you know, they should be paid to like play PoE, you know, for a few hours a day, you know, at least minimum. Paid to play Grim Dawn. Paid to play even the shitty ones like fucking Titan Quest. No one likes that game. Paid to play Titan Quest. I'm joking. Everyone, that's a cult classic. Paid to play Last Epoch, etc. And then that way they can see all these different systems, which will probably, once you get all that shit in your head, right? Once you get all that shit in your head, things start to make sense, and you're like, oh wow, this would be really good if I had this, and that, and fucking, and then what if we do something new here completely, kind of like that, but actually new because no one's done it quite like this. Boom, boom. That's what I'm saying, right? That's what that should be going on. No mobile. They get that's the thing. They're probably getting paid to. The business guys are like, we're gonna need you to make this mobile. So yeah, go ahead and play some mobile games.
Next counterintuitive advice comes in. This is how you get your art so quickly. Create content you have no plan for. We have themed assets that we commission because we know one day we're keen to use them.
And this is like my stream, man. Create content you have no plan for. Am I creating content? I didn't have a plan at all what I was going to do. This is fucking fun.
A great example of this is with the Betrayal League. We decided we were going to make this very complicated evil organization with 19 members who all have backstories and they all look different and they feel different from any Path of Exile characters we've had so far. But where are we going to get 19 fully modeled, rigged, voice-acted, fleshed-out characters like that in 3 or 4 weeks? And the answer was we go to our giant store of content that we just have because we made it, and we pick a bunch of characters. We like, this is a microtransaction armor set. We were going to sell it, but if I put it on a bandit and like sell it in 2 years, this is a new character. And so we found, like, we have just a catalog of Path of Exile stuff that the team have made because they can slot it into the art pipeline, which is going to have a place in the world one day, and we just pick some things for the league. And I'll give you another example. So this is not a real example. We are never going to do a Path of Exile expansion related to dragons, because we don't want there to be dragons in our world. However, if we decided one day that dragons were okay, we'd say to the team, hey guys, make some dragons and like tell me in a year when they're finished. And then there'll be dragons sitting there in the library of stuff. And when we're looking at league ideas, we're like, could we do dragons this time? Sure, how would that work? And when we hit the prototyping, the dragons are ready to go.
Fuck dragons.
And so we have so much stuff being made for the future.
Fuck
we have
dragons.
bits and pieces for expansions next year where we don't know what that expansion is, but we have an idea of a theme that we would like to do.
Dragons are like consoles, okay, guys? There's some normie shit. There's some normie shit and they're ruining games. Fuck dragons. Fuck dragons.
And maybe it's finished early. Maybe we can use that this year. Maybe we can take a few of those assets for this current league, potentially. And it's just so good to have that giant library of stuff. Okay, so in conclusion, we initially released Path of Exile, kind of failed at getting any growth, then we turned things around with this aggressive 13-week schedule, and I've talked a lot about how we actually manage that and various takeaways that are a bit counterintuitive to regular industry advice. There's one last thing I'd like to end on. So, people quit Path of Exile while they're playing the league and come back in the next one. But what's fascinating is that the graph of people quitting, accessing the community, is a lot less steep. So the yellow line there is people quitting the game. It goes from 100% down to 20% by the end, because there really isn't much point in playing in the last week, because the new thing's coming out a few days later, and you're about to essentially have your progress reset. But people still use the website at no less than 50% of peak. And these are players who are still engaged in reading the patch notes, telling us we did it wrong, looking at all of the changes, and buying stuff.
Me.
People who are not playing the game will come back and buy microtransactions and supporter packs because they're available for when they next want to play. And this is amazing, because this is actually what we care about, is keeping the community engaged. And that community is never going below 50% during the quiet periods. What's also interesting...
Wait, what, Chris? Wait, has he lied to us? Wait, where is this? Where did it go? I tried to control V it. This is the... Why the fuck are the dragons in PoE, guys? Are you kidding me, dude? Whoa, is this a new video? A Riker video? Everything we know? Wait, Riker's done an...
Hey, folks.
Riker's got a new video, guys. Pog! Holy shit! Riker's got a new video! Can we get some pogs in the chat? Oh my god! I'm so excited for this video. Wait, everything we know about D4? Okay, that's more content right there. More D4 content. Let's continue.
Right at the end there, in terms of people accessing the website, is a perfect predictor for server numbers for the next league. So far, for 3 years in a row, we've been able to predict server capacity for each launch because of just looking at the website activity and using some ratios. And that's worked really well. So anyway, the vindication we have with this whole plan is the fact that...
Quinpog.
The fact that year after year we've managed to both grow our player numbers, but also get to the point where people never really leave Path of Exile. They're still playing it, even if they say, I'm done with this league, I'll see you guys in a few months. We know they're coming back, and they reliably do. They reliably keep spending and having a good time. And this is the motivation we need to keep releasing quality content. All right, so, slight plug. We're hiring. We're in New Zealand, so that's hard. It's hard to get work visas, and we don't pay as much as the Bay Area. But if that's no problem, and you want to work on Path of Exile and like everything you saw, there's the contact details.
He linked his Skype? Wait, I can add Chris on Discord? I can add Chris on Discord. Pog you. Wait, do I want to do that? Like, dude, I'm scared, man. Call Chris on Skype, call him. Yo, can't believe you linked to Skype. What the fuck? Wait, why would I want to... What am I going to say to Chris? Because what happens if he accepts my fucking Discord friend request? And then what I say? It's going to be awkward as fuck. I don't know what to say to Chris. I don't know what to say to Chris. What's up, dude? Okay, I'm going to be interviewing you this week. Ask about 4.0. Let's have a look here. I'm not gonna randomly add him on Discord, guys. I kind of want to because I could be like, yo, dog. Because you're much smarter than me. Can you give me the questions that I should ask you at the interview that are gonna give the most stimulating answers? You know what I'm saying? Can you go ahead and diggity dog, Chris, my dog. Can you just go ahead, just give me the questions that you want me to ask you, and we'll go. I'm joking. I'm gonna ask some questions, okay? But at the same time, I probably should ask that. That probably would be a good thing to ask him to see if there's like maybe there is a really good question that he could give a really good answer to. You know? Maybe that is a good question. Maybe ask. Yeah, that's probably a good question, dude. Oh my god, why is it weep?
Why the fuck are you now a reaction streamer? We would rather see you do ZDPS in any game than this lame ass shit. Please stop talking about the same retarded shit every day before we are forced to go watch Riker.
I'm about to watch Riker's content, Alalia. Riker is the man. I fucking met him in real life.
Ask him for a job as a janitor or something so you can support the girls once you finish killing your stream with this react Andy.
Shut the fuck up.
Goss84.
Stop a mega lolling. Thank you, Goss, and thank you, Scientistic.
He will say, please don't ask me about my GDC talk.
True. Wait, what? Green donut. Oh my! Stop a mega lolling. Stop a mega lolling. We don't care about this garbage. Play D2. Okay, guys, calm down with this. Play D2. As I said, I am gonna play D2 at some point here, guys. I never ever managed to what's the word here? Thing is, I got back from BlizzCon. We haven't fully dissected. We don't need. Is he gonna answer questions? What is this last part here? Wait, what is this? What is this last part? Is he answering questions?
And also, please fill out the speaker survey. It's very important to GDC so they can get high-quality speakers. And of course, I would love to answer any questions. Timeline-wise, it looks like we have like 5 or 10 minutes. So use the microphone if you would like to ask something.
Bring on going. Is this some crazy 5-hit questions, or is it lame?
So first, I just want to say thanks for making the game. I've been playing since open beta, and
gonna be people sucking his cock, guys.
Incredible, and kind of inspired me.
It's just gonna be people sucking his cock. So guys, that guy we just watched for the last hour is called Chris. Okay, guys. So I'm interviewing Chris at ExileCon in like 7 days. 7 days. Watch it. I'm not going to listen to the questions, guys. I only care about what Chris has to say. I don't care about some spurg asking Chris questions.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
If you would like to ask something.
These questions better be good.
Content and Path of Exile now, this industry. But hey, thanks for making the game. I've been playing since open beta, and every league since is just incredible.
Quin at Exile, hey Chris, can you do some moves? Hugh.
I'm not going to do that.
My question is that you talk about reusing content and Path of Exile now, there's so many options in Endgame, right? It used to be just grinding maps, but now we have lots of these meta systems that we can engage in. And I'm curious with player retention, games like Warframe allow players to very specifically choose what they go into, right? They're like, I want to grind out this meta system and make a lot of progress there. But in Path of Exile, it feels widespread, like you kind of progress in all things slowly as you work through the Endgame map system. So I'm wondering if you have any opinions on Path of Exile going forward in regards to allowing more player choice in what types of previously content they engage in throughout their experience in the end game.
Right. Okay, to repeat the question just for the recording. So you're basically asking, in Path of Exile, there's a lot of content in the end game, and you get access to it as you find it. It's very hard to actually focus on narrowing down to specific content you want to engage in. So this is something we've been experimenting with in the last few leagues. We introduced scarabs
Currently watching your VOD right now and seeing you go over the GDC Chris Wilson talk. Thank Christ on the highest mountain that you don't have a word in the design of these games. Some of your ideas represent the typical D3 normie don shit. Love you.
The Betrayal League, which is something that's a tradable way of augmenting the amount of...
He's a troll, by the way. Ignore everything Pogus Champion says. He's trying to bait a response, and all you have to do is just say fuck you and do the fingers, okay, guys? It's the only response that is valid in this situation, okay? What have I said in reaction to what Chris is saying? I've literally nearly, to be honest with you, it's like I've almost agreed with everything he said, bar, like, you know, some of the synthesis shit. Really. Like, I think, yes, the game design pillars. Oh, and the random generators where they fucking just randomly generate maps and shit. when it's done poorly, it is bad. Like, fuck you. If you think it's not, then okay, go play some fucking, what games did I play? Go play some Diablo 3.
The specific type of content that you find. And this is something we are planning to work on more because we do think that someone being able to specialize is an important thing. It's kind of like a trade skill or a profession in another game. If you're just a really good person at playing delve content or synthesis content, that's something that's good for you to have a specialization in. So this is a direction I would like us to go further, but we are very...
about Diablo 4?
Oh my god. Soon, you'll see my feedback video.
Careful, because everything here is tradable. If we go slightly over the line, suddenly everyone is doing exactly that and farming the optimal thing, and it's hard to get items out of the economy once you put them there. So we're probably too cautious with addressing that.
Hey, thank you so much for the talk. How do you keep your team engaged with working on a game this long?
So the question is how we keep our team engaged for working on a game this long. It helps to be the only big game development company in New Zealand. I'm kidding.
True.
Our team have amazing staff retention. We love working with them. We treat them as well as we can, and it really helps. To them, we're not necessarily working on Path of Exile for this long, but we're working on these 13-week game jams where we're releasing new things. Like last year, we said, "Who likes Pokemon?" We all
just
respond with double middle fingers to your fans. It's like you work at Blizzard already. Just like they cucked people for years with shit content before Classic, so are you with Diablo 2 Omega lol.
A turtle made it to the water.
I'm wearing a free Hong Kong t-shirt.
X28, so this is Diablo 4. I've been waiting so long.
Okay. Need I say anything more? I'm wearing a free Hong Kong t-shirt. Now, do I actually care about Hong Kong? Not necessarily. I'm just more wearing it for the memes. But still, I'm still wearing the t-shirt. Doesn't change the fact that I'm still wearing the t-shirt, guys. Athlete86 with 28 months. Welcome back, brother. Appreciate that shit. I was going to say, yeah, he's true about that the whole thing about there's no other game developers
Do a video
in New Zealand.
comparing and contrasting this with Blizzard. This guy makes them look like incompetent boobs.
Well, Chris is just a very talented speaker, though. I mean, that just because he's very good at speaking doesn't necessarily... I mean, to be honest, he seems like he gets it. You know when some people talk and, like, most things they say make a lot of sense, and you're like... And it's like, oh, wow, that actually really makes... Yeah, he's definitely on point when it comes to that kind of shit.
Did you know you're similar to Eminem? You have your own version of Stan in Ammo JD. Can you please sign his starter cap so he doesn't drive his car over a bridge with his waifu pillow in the trunk?
Oh, fuck. Wait, what the fuck? Oh, God, dude. I've talked to MOJD on comms before. MOJD is like a boomer. He's a boomer lawyer who just likes to meme a lot.
J_Quin_X9. Hey Quinn. I have family in Hong Kong, but I really enjoy Blizzard games. What do?
Just what do you mean? Just get them to move to America, JK. Just move to America. And what do you mean? People from Hong Kong are playing like Hearthstone and shit, right?
I have a message for you.
What are you even on about? You still play? You can still
Fuck off.
Yeah, true.
Pokemon, let's do Beastery. And we made a league based on that. And the team were engaging, they're drawing the art for the little book that you can tick them all off, and everyone's having a great time. And it's the frequent release cycles which let us actually like kind of everyone, when you join the Path of Exile team, you get an experience of designing and working on and releasing and then maintaining a complete game 4 times a year, basically.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, so you have told us about your numbers and how did you manage them on your own effort, right? But I subjectively think that it's because of yours good decisions while your competition was not doing really well. So I feel obligated to ask the question: how did the out of season April Fool joke actually that happened on BlizzCon actually affected Path?
He's saying KK Comrade. He's saying KK Comrade. He's saying basically, do you just think you got lucky that Diablo sucks massive cock?
Of Exile.
I have a graph. You've seen it. But... So that was the spike there at the end. And I do think that the spike was larger because of what you're referring to. For the recording, he's referring to the Diablo Immortal announcement at BlizzCon last year.
Yep.
This did drive traffic to Path of Exile. Having said that, Betrayal was still our best release from a content point of view, and we believe it still would have been our best release, even without the additional traffic. We can tell who the new users are. It was certainly helpful. But yeah, it is useful when fortuitous events happen. Having said that, you know, it still means we have to stay vigilant. There are going to be a lot more competitors this year.
Yo, what the fuck? Fuck off, Chris. Fuck. Do you not have net exile? Like, okay, dude. We know we know what's up. We know what's up, Chris. You can't fool us. I seen the shit you put into your fucking game, bro. He's like, hell yeah, bitch. Yo, we love that Blizzard fucking, like, just, like, bricking, dude. We love that shit. He's fucking... But he's trying to be... It's good that he's trying to be humble, at least.
Yeah, there are a lot of action RPGs that look really good that are being developed.
Hey, Chris. Thank you for talking so fast and covering so much. My question is about one of the pillars you talked about in the beginning about a good RNG item system. Could you talk about some common problems or things not to do that maybe you've seen in the industry or that you guys encountered with these item systems?
So you're wanting to hear about some problems with item systems that other games do. This is like, getting to know me in person is hearing about this stuff forever.
Oh my god, dude, he should do the feedback for D4. Why doesn't Chris do the feedback for D4? He's literally does this for, he basically, you know these past like 3 streams that I've done where we just like talk about, like bitch about shit that we should not be in D4? He said he does that in his free time for fun. Oh my god. No, I'm not going to ask that. I'm not going to ask for feedback, guys. I'm just saying, helping the enemy.
Okay, so in my opinion, the biggest mistake that games make with their item systems is they have item mods that are individually hard to feel. Like the goal with Path of Exile is if you strip your character down to be pretty simple and you put an item on without looking at the mods, you should be able to play and say what the mods do based on how the game feels. Now, this isn't something we always meet. Obviously, there's 11,000 stats in the game, so it's hard to meet it with all of them. But the core thing is we want them to individually be impactful. There's none of this like, +1 strength, what does that even mean? You know, we make sure the amount of strength is actually meaningfully increasing your life, meaningfully making at least 5% boost to damage so you can feel the difference. That's one example there. Another example of what people do with their item systems is they'll come up with a basically set of sequential items where you can get this one, then you get this one, then you get this one. And this is setting up a content train that players, when they get the top item, they're then saying, well, what is there to find now? And you as a developer have to go and add more items on the end. In Path of Exile, we go, yeah, there's random mods. You'll get a top 10% item, you get a top 8%, maybe a top...
Fuck, dude. He's saying it so much better than I said it. He's saying it so much better than I said it. I talk about this in my video, except he's just saying it like it makes sense. I'm just like, nah, to be honest, I mean, wait, Gachi. Are you still in here? Are you still in here, Gachi? Have you got to the part? Because Gachi's seen the video. He's editing the video. Gachi. He might not be here. I was gonna ask him. Yo, what's up, Justin? He's editing. He's in the chat right now. Did the part about items make sense, or was it just me spurging out, spurging out? Do you think? Okay, there's a lot of fucking. Okay. Shit, we might need to not release this. Honestly, played more than PoE than D3 in the past 3 years. Well, that's fake news. That doesn't track far enough back, I'm sure. Look, Twitch track it. Yeah, in the past 3 years. In the past 3 years. I'm paused. I gotta go to sleep. Yeah, I can. Yeah, you can see here. World of Warcraft. Yeah, this is not correct, is it? This is not correct because yeah, this is just not old enough. I'm too old. I'm a fucking boomer, guys. Wait, did Gachi reply? I didn't see if Gachi replied or not. I'm honestly, whenever I'm getting feedback and I know some devs, because you know that a dev or two is going to sit down and watch this, I just don't want it to be awful, right? I hope that they can at least, I'm not like just wasting their time, Like, let's continue.
Top 5%, but we believe that there are not, like, the best items that were possible in 2013 have not necessarily been found yet in any reasonable numbers, just because of the harsh diminishing returns. So to some extent, the initial levels and mods that we set up 6 years ago are still working, and we haven't had to go and pile on additional higher mods in Path of Exile, at least not to any large degree.
So he's saying basically itemization needs to be more lateral, right? He's saying the way you do it, it's like, oh yeah, you go from rare to fucking, you go from magic to rare to legendary to primal, and then the perfect primal like rolls item, and then that's it. Once you get that, it's like literally done. Make the announcement. Make the announcement. Wait, what? Stop saying make the announcement. Wait, there is no announcement. Okay. What do you mean there is an announcement? The announcement, well, okay, the announcement or the thing that I'm going to do is like, I don't know what I'm going to do. We're going to play a game. Maybe we'll talk to Twitch chat about it, but I don't want to have like a whole thing where everyone spams like, play this game, play that game. I don't want that shit. We're going to talk about that later, okay? Later.
Hello, and thank you for the talk. So you guys mentioned that your motivation for making this game was traditional boxed games like Diablo 2 and so on. There, the monetization model is, well, you like the game, you buy it, and you enjoy it. But for you guys, it was not that sort of model. It was mostly external visual updates and so on. Moreover, point of innovation, I believe, was your support packs. Could you tell us a little bit about how you derived that business model?
That's a great question. So the question was, given that the other action RPGs were premium paid games, why did we go free to play, have cosmetic microtransactions?
It's a new meta. It's a new meta.
It was our plan to go free to play before that was a thing. We wanted to be the first free game. It sounds silly, but that was 2006. We'd seen MapleStory. They were making a lot of money in Korea, and we thought we'd revolutionize the Western gaming market. Now, I try not to say this because it's dumb, because then if you spend 7 years making the game, everyone's free to play by the time you release. In fact, when we did release, free to play was a bad phrase. Like, you say free to play, they assume bad monetization. We lost users by saying we were free. We tried very hard to make it seem you've got to pay for it. Anyway, so the ethical cosmetic microtransactions thing was because when we initially scoped the game out, that was the only thing that made sense.
He was ethical from the beginning, dude.
Didn't realize that selling power was even a possible strategy, right? So we scoped this out because it's a competitive game. People want to play a fair playing field, and that was the way to design games. And thankfully, this is now, you know, the tide has turned on this to the point where most new games coming out these days are doing proper ethical microtransactions in a good way if they're competitive. The supporter packs thing was we were about to start selling beta access in 2012 because we wanted to trickle a few more people in, and they were spamming us with threats if we didn't let them in, so we figured we may as well take $10. And so we made a page where you can spend $10 to get beta access. And then we realized, considering Kickstarter was so big, why not model it like what they were doing? And so we added the $20 pack and the $50 pack and the $100 pack, and we just kept going to 1,000.
This is basically so you can get people called whales, right? Where whales effectively will just pay whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter. Whatever the fuck you're charging for the thing, okay? And this like very small portion of people will pay for a huge majority of the overall money they're earning. Like me, I'm a whale. I'm Whale69. Yeah, exactly. It's a very 200 IQ play. It's a very 200 IQ play. I have paid more money into PoE than I have any other game. Any other game.
And then that sold a lot of copies and gave us a lot of obligations that we had to then fulfill for many years. So we've iterated now. I think we're on our 12th or 13th set of these supporter packs, and it's something I also care a lot about, is supporter pack design. So if you're doing anything on Kickstarter or other games where you're doing like a founder pack or supporter pack model and you want advice, I would love to give advice on that. I have opinions there. Anyway, there's a summary of that.
Thank you.
Cool.
So thanks again for making this game and this talk. It's all amazing. I've played this game a lot, and I've been the guy who is like, I'm done, but I'll play next league a lot. And the question I have is, how do you think about burnout? In this, like, you have these 4 releases a year, people are ready to like come back, and they're ready to come back. But have you thought, like, what's the take on, is like, what if people run out of wanting to come back? Like,
imagine paying
how do
for
you
a
deal
free
with
game or to send a message to a streamer. Omega lol.
True, dude. Imagine. Come on, moderators. What is this? What is this, mods? Guys, we're doing a D4 talk about how to make D4 great again. We don't want to make all the D4 devs haters, okay? Right now, there's Communicado. Yo, actually, do you know what? Did you see this one? Did you see this one? Wait, let me go profile. Let me go.
Hey Quinn, I know you're doing very important stuff TM by watching YouTube videos all day, but can you let me know if Shroud is live? Unlike you, he plays games where you can't pay to win.
Yeah, that's
Stanley-22x2. Thanks mods, I love you.
See, look, it's a gate, because basically there was this thing here. I said, like, yo, what the fuck? You can opt into D4 beta now? What is this at Diablo? And then Bloodshed's like, it went X during the opening ceremony, like, fucking retard. I'm like, but what is it? He says, it's a gate. Okay, it's a gate. Brandy says, just signing your soul away. It's fine. Don't think about it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we got communication there from the Diablo. We're talking to Diablo devs. This guy here, lead dungeon designer, working in Diablo 4, guys. Okay.
Shane, I can't buy a single thing. You're all...
No, that's got nothing to do with anything. But wait. There's a big one. There's a one coming. Look at this one here. Just finished reading through all of the UI feedback at BlizzCon, the attendees submitted at the stations, and we got some great stuff out of it. Thanks to everyone who took the time. And this is, lead UI designer on Diablo 4. Lead UI, okay? So they are taking feedback right now. Okay, now what we don't want, guys, is the D4 guys to just be like, fuck this guy. Like, fuck this guy, fuck this community, fuck anything any of these guys have to say, fuck them. And then not take any, what's it called? Feedback, right? So you need good rapport, okay? And so far, the D4 devs are like owning. They're owning. Like from the get-go, from literally the get-go, from the announcement of D4 till this point right now, they have been owning.
Zelnox X3.
And you have to give them that, right? And
_.
if so if you bully them, okay, if you bully them by doing bully shit, that's retarded. All you're doing is the communication lines that are currently open.
Shinu X7, Quin.
The doors that are currently open, they're going to get closed. And they don't give a fuck, because they don't necessarily need our feedback. They can just be like, fuck you. We don't give a shit. We're Blizzard. We can do whatever we want, right? And that's the thing. But right now, we're in a good position. Community's in a good position. Be good. You got to just be good boys. Be friendly. Be friendly. What's the word I'm looking for here? Yeah, what's not the friendly? What you don't want to be like fake or something. What's the word I'm looking for here? Amicable. Being amicable, right? Being constructive. Being civil. And everything, and respectful when it comes to, like, this stuff. And if you guys are, like, doing shit that's just straight up, like, Diablo 4 devs are retarded, dude, holy shit, a Megalo, what the fuck, these guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about, Pepe love D4, like, okay, then those doors that are currently open, they're gonna shut, and, and that's bad for everyone. Nobody wins there, okay, nobody wins. Diablo, the D4 loses, the D4 community and the Diablo community loses, we all lose. So you don't want that, guys. Okay, no, I'm not trying to be a shill. We're just saying, like, that we're poised to be in a very good position right now. We are in a good position. It currently is a really good position. I'm really liking it. It's really actually pog. It's like, new year, new Blizzard, you know what I'm saying? Hashtag, new year, new me, dude. New year, new Diablo. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be some next level, new meta shit.
The like over time, people getting bored of restarting over again, even though it's something new. It's the same new thing. Yeah.
So the question was, how do we deal with meta burnout, which is basically the next level above of having to come back every league until eventually you've come back so many times. This is partly what our big expansions are for. That's the next meta level above there, the 200, the 300. Next year's 400 is going to be nuts. Anyway.
Yo, dude, that's what we're about to find out about. That's less than 7 days away. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be nutty.
Those are the things that really drag people back. And I was talking to a good friend of mine who works at Jinx, and he actually started playing Path of Exile way back in the early alpha. And he was saying he recently returned to it, has been having a blast. And this is something where he took several years off, but now he's back and spending money and playing characters.
Okay, here we go.
Hey Quinn, J. Allen Brack here. Thanks for reading from that prepared statement about how much our Diablo team cares about the community feedback. 630 social credits have been added to your NetEase account.
Characters, and it's all good.
Cool, thanks.
Hi.
Yeah. Isn't NetEase Korean? Isn't NetEase Korean, by the way? Isn't NetEase Korean? That was for Lost Ark, you fucking idiot. That's some Lost Ark shit, dude. China? No, we used for Lost Ark. It's China. Smart. Oh, true. Yes, never mind. I was testing you guys. You passed the test. Congratulations. You're right, Twitch chat.
Great talk. You mentioned that you generate content in the background so that it's just ready for use in expansion because that's the only way to do it. What about tools engineering and things like that? How do you handle that?
The tools you were saying?
Yeah.
We have a tools team internally. So the question was, what do we do about tools in terms of content generation and so on? We have a tools team internally, probably not as large as we should have. It's obviously an evolution over many years, and they're trying to stay abreast of the tools. We made a decision a few years ago that instead of replacing our engine, we were just going to make it as modern as we can. So we have a lot of advanced stuff there now, which is beginning to be used in the game, and therefore the tools team really got scaled up a bit. Now, it's kind of the heart of things like procedural generation. When we do our, we revamp the Atlas of Worlds occasionally, and that now has a complicated tool that lets people move all the stuff around, and it really is paying off in terms of time and effort invested in the tool stuff. It's kind of completely separate from the concept of making art assets, though, for the most part.
Wait, why not make a new engine for 4.0? I want a new 4.0 engine. People rage. Diablo 4 is getting a new engine. Diablo 4 feedback. What is this? What is that? Wait, this is Diablo. That is not Diablo 4 feedback, guys. And that's a waste of paper as well, may I add. That's killing trees for a meme. Okay, that is not happening. I can assure you that is not happening. From what I've seen, why would they be aggressively asking for feedback? There is numerous times they have asked for feedback. Numerous times. It's a front. It's not a front. It's not a PR stunt, guys. That would be like a YouTuber making a YouTube video and then saying, leave a comment below when they're just using you to get increased interaction on the video so the video gets more views and they don't actually care about your comment. Okay? And nobody does that. All right? So they're not doing that, okay, bro?
But I mean, the tool we're using to make this, endless supply of content is Maya for the most part.
turtle
But
made
all
it
of the
to
stuff
the
we use to
water.
actually hook it up into the game is our ever-evolving set of tools, which certainly pays off when we improve it. One more question?
Hi, thanks for the talk. Love the entertainment from it too. So my question was for the economy part of it. You said you reset the economy each time you do a release.
Yes.
How do you do that without upsetting users who have spent for all this effort and put into it?
This is a great question and something that I did gloss over. So we reset the economy with a release, but who wants to be reset? That sounds really
Everyone.
bad. The way we do it is we make a new economy and we say, you should play the release in that one. And you've still got your old characters. So we have what's called Standard League, where all the characters from the past economies get moved.
Where all the characters go to fucking die because no one cares about them. Yep.
Welcome to play there. Maybe 10% of players do play there. And you've still got all the characters you've ever played in Path of Exile. But the exciting place where the economy isn't trashed with all the old items is the new league. And so we make sure that the new league content is generally only available in the new economy. So that's kind of your reward for starting a new character. And this took a little while to train players, but it really works well. It's the lifeblood. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the fact that this worked. Well, thank you very much, everyone.
What the fuck? Yeah. That's a good talk. To be honest,
made it to the
I wish I had watched that.
X22.
I wish I watched that before I did my video because he definitely articulates some of the points I made in my own video just better.